Welcome to Pet Pals, the show that features the animals of Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. My name is Sean Snyder. I'm the volunteer coordinator here at the shelter, and with me today co-hosting is Summer Clausen. She's been a longtime volunteer, helps out all over the shelter with us, and is going to be handling some of our animals today. Our first pet guest is Midnight. Midnight is an 8-year-old boxer mix. She was turned into us because her owners could no longer afford to care for her, which is a theme we hear often with animals that are maybe relinquished to the shelter. We do have things we can offer citizens of Frederick County if they need help. There are other agencies out there that can help you keep your pet. So if you ever find yourself in a position where you don't think you can afford the care or feeding of your pet, please reach out and we may be able to assist with that. Midnight, when she first came in, we noticed that she had allergies and we discovered that she had fleas. So her allergies were attributed to her fleas. Often some animals can have, they call it flea allergy, and it's basically the saliva of the flea causes them to itch when the flea bites them. So that has since been resolved, and now her skin is back to normal. And at the time we had her on some Benadryl, but we treated her with Revolution and Frontline to help resolve the flea issue. She did not arrive spayed. So when she is adopted, part of her adoption fee does include spaying her, and that is all included with the fee. Her adoption fee is reduced by $20 because she's between 5 and 9. So her adoption fee is $72.50. Her previous owner had indicated that she had lived with another dog, and it looks like they owned her whole life. So some of the notes while I was preparing for this, I saw that it said she was shy or she was uncertain. And we have to understand that dogs, cats in general, when they live with the same family their entire life, it can be a little overwhelming for them to come to the shelter. Noticeably, she's barking right now. We brought her into a new room she had never been in, and it may be something that she is unsure of, and she just needs a little time to acclimate. So we always ask people, when you adopt a pet, you shouldn't assume that it's going to be just like the old pet you have or pets you already have at home. We ask that people give animals a chance to acclimate to their new environment and surrounding. We see a lot of animals that are bounced from home to home to home, and that can be really difficult for an animal to settle in and finally become comfortable with a new environment. So once again, her name is Midnight. She's an 8-year-old boxer mix, and she'd love to be a part of your family. Our next guest is Bentley, and as you can see, he's a whole lot of love. And let me introduce, before I talk more about Bentley, our second co-host, Mark Clausen. He's Summer's father, and he's going to help me out as well today. So Mr. Bentley here, you can see he is a lot of energy, but you can also see he is a little bit overweight. So when we weighed Bentley, he weighed in at 116 pounds. So whoever adopts Bentley, they do need to get him on some kind of weight management plan. He needs to slim down, but he has the energy level. So as long as you're not overfeeding him, he's a dog that you could probably see some quick results in getting some of the major pounds off, and then work on getting him down to a good fit weight. He's about 3.5 years old, so he's not that old. And it looks like he was also given up by his previous owner. And if you watch our show, you've heard Bethany or myself or our director Linda say this many times. He was given up because the person was moving. So, you know, we understand some things are out of their control, and that is why we're here. We're here for the citizens of Frederick County. If they can no longer keep their animal, or if they find a stray, they can bring that animal to us. So, you know, it's unfortunate that his family had to move, and at the same time, Bentley now needs to start all over. Unlike Midnight, our last guest, Bentley will likely acclimate to a new house a lot quicker. He is a social butterfly. When he first came in, he jumped on my lap. Not the whole way, thank goodness, but then he jumped on Mark's lap. So, you know, he's not a wallflower. He's a dog that, like I said, will probably settle in well, and he may do well with a family that is active. Even though he can't be active all the time now, he could gradually get to that point. And like I said, he's still somewhat of a young dog, so he can find that place where you can play ball, so on and so forth, but gradually you'll have to work him up to that. Looking at his records, it does appear he lived with another dog, and he shared his house with a cat. So a lot of times people want to know how how a dog here would do with a cat. And the profiles we have on owner give-up animals is a good indicator of that. I want to mention real quick, our August special is $20 off any dog over 6 months or older. So I didn't mention that with Midnight, but even if they already have a discount, they get $20 more off. So Bentley here, he's only 3.5. During the month of August, his adoption fee will be $72.50. Stop by and take a look at him. Our next guest may be a familiar face. Her name is Lulu, and she was on the show about 2 episodes ago. Why she is back on the show is not because she's been in the shelter the whole time, but rather because she was adopted and brought back. She is a 9-month-old Doberman Pinscher mix, and she was brought back because they said she had too much anxiety, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Our puppy process, that is the term we refer to dogs under a year old. That we use to take 4 applications and select who we feel is the best applicant. Some people don't like the process we use, but our ultimate goal is to never see Lulu again unless you're stopping by for a visit. So this time it didn't work out for Lulu, but our goal the next time will be that she is adopted in her next home for the rest of her life. Looking through her records, as far as I can tell, this 9-month-old dog is already searching for her 4th home. So that is not good for a young dog. The dog can never learn any rules. They don't have consistency in their life. It's hard for them to become trained in any way, because even if someone starts, the next person may have different words they use or different rules. So Lulu is a 9-month-old cute Doberman Pinscher mix, but she will be a project for someone. She's a sweet dog, but someone will have to work with her to make her the dog that they want. Now, as far as anxiety goes, some dogs do suffer from separation anxiety, and you need to find a way to work through that. The original person who gave Lulu up didn't indicate that she had any anxiety issues. So the last family who brought her back to us only kept her a week. And when I had talked about Midnight earlier, our first dog guest, I had said that it can take a little while for a dog to settle in. As I mentioned, she's been bounced around quite a bit in the last 9 months. So she may go to a new house, and that may be worrisome to her. She may feel comfortable here after a while, after she spends some time. So being a young dog, she's uncertain of what her next step may be or her future. At this point, we are looking for someone who has Doberman experience. So once again, if you've had Dobermans in the past, please stop by. Lulu would love to visit with you. Our next guest is Choppy. And I should say right up front, couch potatoes not need apply. She is one active girl. She's about 10 months old. I'd probably say she's about 11 months now. Her paperwork says 10, but that is a point in time. So she's about 11 months now, and she will need a home that can commit to providing her some training, but not just training, I'd say evening exercise. This girl will need some attention, and not necessarily the evening. If you're a person that's home during the day, she'll be happy to exercise with you at any time. It looks like when she was turned in by her owner, they gave us a date of birth as 9/7/16. So she's almost a year old. So she's right there where she'll be turning a year in a few months. It looks like when she came into us, she was already spayed. She had her rabies vaccination. She had her distemper. So the person who turned her in was taking good care of her. They provided her all the routine vaccinations. They did the right thing and had her spayed. And they indicated that they were no longer able to keep her because they were moving as well. So they couldn't take her. And a lot of times, her being a pit bull terrier mix, if they were moving to an apartment, maybe that some apartments don't allow pit bull type dogs at the complexes. So if you consider adopting a dog in general, but especially a pit bull terrier, those are things that you need to think about. If you're going to rent your place, you need to think about how long am I going to stay at this place, and will I be able to have a plan in the future to take my dog with me? Because once again, we have a young dog here that seems to be getting bounced from house to house. Now, she hasn't had as many homes as Lulu, but what she needs most in her life now is consistency and just a constant routine. They indicated that she lived with children that were 5 and older. She might be a little bit too much right now for a very young kid. Just that she's so active, she would likely knock down a toddler or maybe a baby that's just starting to crawl or get up and walk. So she'd be a lot for someone with a very young kid. It looks like that they used a crate for her, so she is crate trained. And they did indicate that she's house trained as well, and she usually goes to the door and scratches. So, you know, those two things, crate trained and being house trained, are both desirable things for a young, active dog. So, basically, Choppy is ready to go. She also benefits from the discount I mentioned earlier. Her being 11 months old, her adoption fee would be $130. You can stop by and visit Choppy. Our kennels are open Monday through Saturday. Our last dog guest is Kodak. Kodak is a 1-year-old pit bull mix, and he came to the shelter because he has lots of energy. So I don't know if the camera picks it up, but if you look at him, his musculature is very defined. He is a young, strong dog, and the theme of the show, besides Bentley and Midnight, seems to be dogs that just need to have time to exercise, run, they need training, they just need that release so that they can become great dogs. All the dogs we showed today have that potential, and I'm not saying they're bad dogs, they're just young dogs that need boundaries placed upon them, and they need some guidelines so they can become great dogs out in our community. So Kodak has benefited from our dog socialization program. We have volunteers, Summer's one of them, and so is Mark, that they actually, on the day we're not open, we try and mix dogs together to have play dates. And Kodak's to the point now where he's not off leash, but we've been walking him with other dogs, and he's done fine with that. One of the reports I read said that at first he was barking a lot because he was excited, but then he seemed to calm down. Once they do the parallel walking, they call it, they usually allow them to sniff some at each other, and that seemed to go well. One of the comments I read said that Kodak was a little bit forceful, that he'd become a little bit too much for some dogs. So that's something that would need to be worked on. If you wanted to adopt Kodak and you wanted to walk him in the park, in the beginning, you'd have to know that you couldn't just let him run up to any dog, because some dogs don't take too kindly to that. So he can just be a little bit too much for some dogs. And that is probably based on his age. He's only a year old. He is basically a young teenager now. So he is feeling out his roots. He is very strong right now. He is trying to figure out what's right, what is wrong. If he's in a kennel for most of the days or he's crated, he'll need that time to act a little crazy before you work on training him or taking him to the park for a nice leisurely walk. When he first came in, he was very wild. He jumped on me, jumped on Summer. When we first started filming, he jumped back on me. But you can see already he's slowly starting to calm down because he's becoming acclimated to this area. So once again, his name is Kodak. He's 1 year old. He's a pit bull mix. He's hoping for a home that has time for him. And he will be a great dog once someone puts the energy into him. So that's the 5 dogs that we're going to feature for this episode, for this segment. In a moment, we'll be back and we'll show you 5 cats that we have available for adoption here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center.
looking for that perfect spot for your child's next birthday party? Look no farther. Frederick County Parks and Recreation can fulfill all your birthday party needs. Choose from any of our rec center locations. Your party rental includes tables, chairs, on-site facility supervisor, and much more. Pricing for our parties is $120 for 2 hours in our rec room or $170 for 2 hours in our rec room and gymnasium. For more information and availability, visit us on the web at www.recreator.com.
Welcome back. We're now going to take a look at 5 cats or kittens that we have available for adoption here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. Before I talk about our first guest, I just want to take the time to thank the citizens of Frederick County. During the month of July, we ran a special where cats and kittens were $15.50. The motive of that special was to try and have 2,000 cats or kittens, not in Frederick County, but through the entire state of Maryland, find homes. Our shelter was able to adopt out 135 cats and kittens during the month. So thank you for helping us. We reached our goal. Our goal was set at 120 cats, so we exceeded that. So our first cat, or I should say kitten, that is on the show today is a little black cat named Wesley. Wesley at this time is he's about 4 months old. He shares a common story with a lot of kittens that come to shelter. He was found on McCain Drive here in Frederick, and not that they're all found on McCain Drive, but that he was found with his siblings and that he was brought to the shelter for care. Now, when he was found, he was actually old enough to go right on the adoption floor. A lot of times when kittens come in or they come in with their mother, we utilize our foster care program to raise them until they're old enough to be adopted, and then we bring them back to the shelter when they're the right age, and we adopt them from here. So his siblings were old enough, as well as he was, to be adopted right away. He actually has one more brother that's living with him in a cage, and I believe that brother will be adopted soon, but Wesley right now still has no applications. So when people adopt kittens from us, part of the process is, and some of you may have been through this, we do an interview with you, and it's not to see if you're good enough, but rather to set you up for success. You know, what kind of litter should a kitten be using? We suggest you don't use clumping so that if they eat it, it doesn't clump in their stomach. How long do you keep them on kitten food? We suggest around 6 months, but we also say talk to your vet about that. That can be a preference that your vet may have a difference on. So basically, like I said, we try and set people up for success. And the goal is, just like with our dogs, that you will never have to bring Wesley back to us. So this cute little guy is just one of many kittens that's available for adoption here at the shelter. If you've been thinking about adding a kitten to your family, the window of time slowly dwindles as we come into the colder fall and winter months. We see less and less kittens. So now's a great opportunity to stop by the shelter, see what kittens we have available for you, and who knows, maybe Wesley will be the right one for you. Our next guest is a cat named Spot. He's 1 to 1.5 years old. He's a brown tabby with white, domestic short hair. So Spot, it looks like he came to us because sadly his family lost their home. And bringing Spot into the room and taking him from his cage on our adoption floor up to here, I could tell it was a little stressful for him. So he probably is uncertain what is happening to him right now. He hasn't been with us terribly long, only about a week. So it appears he lived with his family for almost his whole life. They found him as a stray, but they said they had him for a year. And then he came into the shelter, and now we're bringing him up here. So he will be a cat that will need some time to settle into a new family. You know, sometimes people take cats home, and they expect it to be sitting on their lap that night. Spot will likely not be that cat, but he can become that cat. A lot of times cats just need a little time to settle in. His previous family, the words they used to describe him include calm, playful, energetic, and friendly. So, you know, once he got to know them after he was a stray, he settled in and he was fine with them. Spot is a little bit bigger of a cat. By no means is he obese, but he weighs 13 pounds. He's just a big statured cat. So some people come in and that's what they look for. They don't look for the petite cats. They want a cat that's somewhat sizable, and that's definitely Spot. It looks like at this time Spot is not neutered, so part of the adoption fee here at the shelter does include neutering. We also microchip cats. They have their vaccinations. You get a visit at your veterinarian, and I know everybody's heard this before on the show, but what we want people to know is when you adopt from us, you get the nuts and bolts of what you need for your pet for the first year of its life. So we try and set you up, as always, for success. So if you're a person that likes brown tabbies, likes cats named Spot, he may be the one for you. What we're going to ask from you is, though, that you have a little patience with him. He is a cat that will become your lap cat if you just give him that little bit of time. Our next cat guest is Hayes. Hayes is a 5-year-old domestic shorthair. You can see he's gray and white, and he arrived at the shelter as an owner give up as well today. It appears that he lived with several other cats. They didn't give me an exact number, but the comment says they had too many cats. So he was given up because slowly the population at someone's house got out of control, I suppose. And this is a good opportunity to let people know we are still administering a grant to have your cat spayed or neutered. All you have to do is 1, stop by, and 2, live in one of the following zip codes: Thurmont, Middletown, Myersville, Brunswick, or the Frederick zip codes of 21701 or 21702. The voucher we give you will have your cat spayed or neutered and a rabies vaccination for free. There are certain vets we use, so you'll have to use one of our vets, but by all means, we are trying to limit the number of cats entering the shelter. The grant I just talked about is good through the end of August. Starting in September, we will be administering a new grant which will cover different zip codes. So back to Hayes. It looks like Hayes is not neutered at this time, which may have caused part of the problem of too many cats at the house. So upon his adoption, he will be neutered, he'll go home, and like I said before, it looks like we have already microchipped him. The people did indicate that he was an indoor cat, so he lived mainly indoors, and that's our preference, that you keep your cat inside. We realize some people have preferences about that, but our agency is the agency that picks up loose cats or responds to cats that are injured in the road, so we like to see cats stay inside. Last year, our animal control took in 2,200 plus cats and kittens, so these cats and kittens are coming to us as strays and then owner give up. So the more cats staying inside, obviously, the less we're likely going to take in here at our shelter as a stray. So the words his previous owner used to describe him are calm, playful, and friendly. It looks like, obviously, I had mentioned the cats, he gets along with cats. They said that he got along with dogs. They didn't indicate he lived with a dog, but he seems like a cat that gets along with everybody, but once again, he will need a little time to acclimate to his new environment. So if you're interested in Hayes, you can stop by the shelter and ask to visit with him. Our next cat guest is a little lady named Daisy. And Daisy is a volunteer favorite. I always tell people, if you want to adopt an animal, you should always adopt by whatever it is what you want. But if you come into the animal shelter, you're not too picky about breed or color of cat or any of that. You should track down a volunteer or a kennel staff and ask which is their favorite animal. They're definitely going to point you in the direction of the animals that, for the cats, sit on your lap, spend time with you. For the dogs that maybe do have a lot of energy but have a lot of potential. And we put great animals on our adoption floor, but all of them may need a little bit of work in some way. So the staff and volunteers can help you pick animals, and that's why they're here. I've heard people say before when they walk into the cat room, there's 50 cats on the adoption floor. I have no way of knowing how I can whittle it down to one. And that's what we're here to do, to help you, to find that one cat that can become your cat and you'll keep for the rest of your life. So little Daisy here, she arrived at the shelter, it looks like back in June. She was put on our adoption floor in mid-July. A lot of times cats are allowed to settle into the shelter. So they start out with our staff first, and then they're moved out to the public area. So she was in the back with our staff, and they were working with her to become acclimated with the shelter. And then, like I said, about mid-July, she was moved to our adoption floor. When she was moved out to the adoption floor, she was spayed at that time. So whoever adopts her does not have to worry about post-surgery recovery or anything like that. It does appear that she was given up by her owner due to allergies. Now, allergies are something that people can't control, and allergies come in mild forms to severe forms, and we understand that. If you're a family that has never had a cat, I ask that you spend some time here with cats or go to a friend's house and spend some time to assure you or your children don't have those allergies. Because according to her paperwork, her family owned her entire life. So either someone moved into the house or a new person, maybe a child was born, or someone developed allergies, which all of that stuff can happen. Sometimes it can be managed, sometimes it can't. So according to her previous owners, it looks like they described her as that she's easy to handle, she's a lap cat, she's playful. They said that she gets along with cats, babies and children. It seems like she's a cat that once she settles in would adapt to almost anything. So if you're interested in Daisy, someone who will sit in your lap, she might be the right one for you. Our last cat guest is a kitten. Her name is Squeakers, and she's about 3 to 3.5 months old, so she's just a little thing. It looks like she only weighs about 3 pounds, 7 ounces now. She's a domestic short hair, gray tabby with white. And she came in with a couple other kittens, and the person who brought them in said that they were just born on the property. It doesn't necessarily sound like that they owned the mother cat, but that they were born, there's cats wandering on the property. So what we're going to do for her is find her a home that she'll stay in forever, we hope. And we'll start her off on the right foot like we do with all our cats. So she'll be spayed and microchipped and vaccinated, and you get a vet visit. So the goal will be that she stays in her home and that she's ready to go for the first year of her life. Squeakers is the name we gave her. Sometimes people think, oh, I have to keep the name. By no means. A lot of people change names of the animals. And she is a kitten, so you'll have to expect some kitten antics from her. She may run around at 2 a.m. She might want to climb curtains in the beginning. She may get a little rambunctious in her litter box and throw litter all over the floor. But these are the things people have to accept when they adopt a kitten, and it's part of the growing phase. So, you know, as an adult cat, she'll slowly calm down and become a little more relaxed. And that's sometimes the benefit, that you get to see the full stages of a cat's life, from their very playfulness and just being naive to when they're older, wiser, and more relaxed and calm. Right now you can see she wants to explore a little bit. She does not want to be on a lap. She wants to see what the room's all about. And that sometimes is what a kitten wants to do. So Squeakers is available here for adoption. She hopes to find a home with you or another family. And like I said before, she is just one of those many kittens we have available for adoption. So that's today's show. We appreciate you taking the time to watch. We appreciate your support. And when you're looking for your next pet, or if you saw someone you like today, please stop by our shelter at 1832 Rosemont Avenue, and we'll be happy to see you.